BBC Radio 1Xtra stories.
Damn, why they gonna stick me for my papers? Damn.
Gone too soon. A celebration of iconic musical artists who are no longer with us.
How many brothers fell victim to the streets? Rest in peace.
Gone too soon.
1, 2.
And like this promise is true, won't leave my bacon undip. The many chances I blip through to bring my life to a nip.
And like all fairy tales end, you'll see Jay again, my friend.
Gone too soon.
This is from Things Fall Apart. And this is his tribute for when it went. Is this platinum or gold?
This is a very special living room in Detroit, America.
I believe that it would be platinum. Yep. And Busta, when his album went gold, the Woo-Ha, of course, which eventually went platinum.
It's filled with tributes to an artist who died at just 32 years old.
Well, we knew at a couple months old that he had a keen ear.
And this is his mum, Maureen Yancey, also known as Ma Jukes.
He couldn't talk, but he could match vocal sounds. And I had one uncle that told me he's going to be great someday, you'll see. We still didn't connect it to anything profound. That's what he did become.
And his name?
As an infant, we called him Harry. I don't know why.
On his birth certificate, it said James Dewitt Yancey, but you'd find his music under JD, the Umar, or most likely, Jay Dilla. Dilla is my favourite beatmaker of all time, no question. I first met him in '97 with Slum Village, and by then I'd already been telling people about his music, so it was great to finally meet him.
Raise it up! Raise it up! Raise it up! Raise it up!
He also means a lot to some big names in hip-hop. They were people he worked with, and also his friends.
Raise it up!
My name is Mos Def. Dilla is one of the greatest artists of the 20th century.
Raise it up!
Common.
They would call him the God, like they call Rocc, the God MC. They'd be like, oh, they go to God right there, because everybody was influenced and inspired by him.
There is a maestro, there is a master at it.
Plug 2 from De La Soul.
I love the Premier, I love the Pete Rock, or what have you, but none of them, and this is with respect, none of them ever could touch what Dilla did.
Raise it up! Raise it up!
Questlove.
Watching him press those pads, I was just like, yo, you're not one of us. You're sitting here in your disguise and your glasses, knowing that you're way better than all of us. You're Clark Kent.
And like Clark Kent, a lot of people don't even realize they've got Jay Dilla in their lives.
The thing is, his name was not as large as his music was. Affected a lot of genres of music. Definitely has affected R&B. Neo Soul was basically a genre that was born out of his music.
Like, if you ain't never heard Jay Dilla, you've heard him, but you just don't know you've heard him.
Just check tracks like Janet Jackson's Got Till It's Gone. Q-Tip's Breathe and Sleep. And the Pharcyde's Running.
It could change at any moment. He could do anything from a song with Busta, and it has that energy of a party track.
All my people get drunk, get high. What up? Get money, get rich, get fly. What up? Get stupid, get busy, get live. What up? Jump over your whip, turn the key and drive. What up?
To some Slum Village songs, like, you know what love is.
You know what love is. Say it with me one time. You know what love is. On some love. You know what love is. Sleep on some love. You know what love is.
To go into the light.
Yeah.
It was very vast.
You've just heard a taste of some of the amazing tunes that Jay Dilla produced in his short life, whether it be making the beats or on the mic. It's more music than most people could dream of making in their whole career, and it feels like he'd only just got started.
He would play me beats before he passed. Yeah, he was getting back into some crazy beats.
Yeah.
I don't think he peaked even. I think he was still on his way to higher heights.
Let's go.
I'm Benji B, and this is Gone Too Soon, the story of Jay Dilla. We're going to celebrate and explore the incredible contribution one man has made to music. His back catalogue is so massive that even some of the most serious fans aren't aware of all the tracks he's behind. Mos Def.
He could have been a Kanye West, you know. He wasn't interested, you know.
He really did not like being interviewed. He didn't really want to be front and center on stage. That wasn't his thing. You know, he'd much rather be like in the studio behind the music, you know what I'm saying, and actually creating stuff that makes you move.
That was Dwele, soul singer from Detroit and one of JD's old friends. JD wasn't really into playing the media game, and not many interviews with him exist. So we're going to try and understand the man behind the music through his family and some of his friends and collaborators such as Common, Questlove, Mos Def, De La Soul, and Erykah Badu. But let's take it back to the beginning.
He actually had love of music, and that was all that he ever had a love of. No toys, no anything but music. He was just a different individual. He was always unique, but he didn't sleep nights, and that was the only disturbance that I had with Dilla, is that he was a night person, and he never changed.
So from early on, Dilla was showing some serious talent.
My husband was an upright bass player, and he would actually put him to sleep by either humming or playing jazz music. He would actually mimic them with his gurgles. He could do perfect pitch, and by us both being musically trained, we, were very excited about the pitch in particular. But he had it mastered.
People knew him as, Dilla, but to me, that's James Dewitt Yancey, my big brother.
In fact, Dilla was surrounded by music. Here's his younger brother, Illa J.
I mean, obviously, music, that was just something that was just around the household. It was just, my dad, he was in the jazz group growing up. He had his own jazz band, and he played bass. His parents, they were playing piano for, the silent movies, way back in the day. And then my mom, she sings, too. She studied opera, and she sings jazz.
Now Illa J's an artist in his own right, but he started off jamming with his big brother.
I was really close to my bro. I remember we used to always have ad-lib contests. You know how people have their ad-libs in the songs? Me and my brother would see who could do the longest Al Green ad-lib. Al Green, he'll take one line and he'll just stretch it out.
Ooh, baby.
And we would go back and forth and have battles and see who could go the longest. Okay, so it would start off like... but just go as long as you can, though.
So from day one, Dilla and his family setup was definitely special.
What's up, this T3 from a group called Slum Village. We was basically outcasts.
In '93, he formed Slum Village with T3, Busta, and Wajeed, a group of friends from the same side of Detroit who were all into a different sound.
For the main part, Detroit hip-hop, if you took Persian high school and you had to say how much of the percentage of these people listen to Tribe Called Quest versus how many of those percentage of people listen to, I don't know, Ice Cube.
Ice Cube with the lynch mob. I got it going on. Maybe that's living in the city of the criminal zone. One time can't keep the law in order, cause everybody's going crazy for a quarter. You tuned in to the #1 crew in the area. The way I'm talking, I'm staring you, I'm daring you to raise hell and bail and brag and sag, but be down for your.
It's just another case of that OPTA.
They wasn't really into the type of stuff we was into. We was into Leaders of the New School. Nobody was listening to that.
But nevertheless, it goes to show my potential. And even though I love to be the mental, 1, me, 2, you, 3, your pops. Now what am I to do? I had to transform into an educated lad. Going around doing chores with your dad. Playing a duck, wearing sweaters and shoes. Chilling with pop, just listen to the blues.
They also wanted a different way of life.
I think that group was an escape for us, you know what I'm saying? It was an opportunity for us to kind of get away from, you know what I'm saying, the bad politics in the neighborhood. It was early 90s and, you know, drugs and all of this craziness was really rampant in the neighborhood. And more or less, I think Slum Village was our escape from all of that stuff.
We just do it.
So how did those early Slum Village tracks get made?
Dilla say, we gonna work today, right? We all come at the crib. I don't know, what we just listening to records or just chilling for a minute, eating snacks or just talking, laughing, cracking jokes, we always do. He go to the bar, boom, dip. When he come back, he be hype. Ooh, what's up? I was like, okay, let's get it in. Let's pop it off. So then he'll turn on the machine, because whatever he make, we gonna rap to it.
Where we come from is a place we call Coney Gardens. Motown, yes, it started. If you ever hear say Mac, Nick, we going down like that Range Rover. When ladies see you, they get to love hangover. Day or a night if you wanna stay over. You gotta have them guts up and over. You'll be take off your clothes, it's time. Where we come from is a place we call Coney Gardens. Motown, yeah, this shit started. We don't stop, no, we don't quit.
And it would all happen in my Jukes' basement.
You know, people were always welcome. You know, it didn't matter how many people were downstairs. I had an extremely large basement, and every bench that was built into the walls were full of music. You know, just albums and albums galore.
Most of the music was made in Dilla's basement with his first setup. He was just basically using tape cassettes, looping stuff around by pausing and recording. A lot of times people do it. You can hear where they kind of the clicks, but you couldn't hear his clicks.
Hey, you can't drop the mic because he hearing all that. Hold your mic.
Basement stuff.
And then on top of that, he would add a drum machine on top of that.
You see, this is what happens when you loop up some bullshit and start rapping over.
It sounded like real production. You know what I'm saying? That's what made it dope.
Just rock to the rhythm, forth and back, forth and back, forth and back, back.
It's at the time, man.
It's gonna roll. You ain't gotta.
There are no guarantees in music. No guarantees at all.
Despite Dilla's obvious skills, Marjukes was still worried about her son's future.
I've known many people over the years that are talented that I thought should have been great and never made it out of the city to do anything, never made it to a record label. And some of these people, their lives were wasted away because their heart had been broken over what they thought they wanted to do with their lives, and they couldn't find another niche. And that was my fear, because my husband had been a musician for like 25 years before he stopped doing anything but working at Ford's. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted him to have an alternative, to have a choice.
She encouraged him to work hard at school, but Dilla just wanted to make music. T3.
No, we never had the same class together because Dilla never came to school. Because we was doing some real edgy stuff. It was really like characters. You know, we used to do like because most of our music was just made up on comedy. So we would just do characters like voices, and they were interesting. Some of them songs, man.
Time for some action. Peace to all my people, paper stacking. Like asking.
All right, I'm on your radio dial. 107.5 Detroit. Slow down, I'm on the city. It's the place to get down. Look up at the top of the charts. What do you see?
He was skipping school to work on the Slum Village demo. One day, Dilla got his chance. Slum Village heard that De La Soul and Q-Tip were in town. Plug 2.
Q-Tip and I were in Detroit in town for a gig, and Tip and I went to the mall, and this kid was just like, yo, De La, Tribe Called Quest, can't believe this, I love you guys, I want to give you my CD. And we went in the car, and actually it was a tape at the time. I think it was a cassette tape. Went in the car on our ride back to the hotel. Tip threw it in, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is amazing.
Q-Tip hated the demo at the time, but he loved the beats. Q-Tip called him that next day, so they started talking on the phone every day. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
And so Dilla started making beats for Q-Tip's group, A Tribe Called Quest, one of the biggest hip-hop acts of the 90s. Working together, they produced under the name The Ummah.
When I got the call from Micheline Levine, who was Q-Tip's attorney at the time, she said, how do you feel, Mrs. Yancey? She said, we're going to fly your son out to choose an attorney, and then we're hoping he'll be very happy. And that was when I knew that, if they're shopping for attorneys for him, then he has a chosen career. So I was very happy about it.
While his mum was relieved that Dilla was on his path to success, there were mixed emotions for T3.
He was coming up and he was getting his foot in the door, but me and Batin was still living a regular life. Now we always knew he was gonna come back for us because we're still working on stuff here and there. But it was tough at first, you know what I'm saying? You proud of your guy, but you still at home with moms, or you still eating them ramen noodles every day.
Dilla was becoming too busy making beat tapes to put in the time with his group. He'd send these tapes out, and it wasn't long till they started reaching established artists. Here's Mos Def.
His legend preceded him even then, so he would send beat tapes to Tribe Called Quest, but particularly De La. De La were the first group that really put me on to him, and they had just volumes of tapes,
Then Common heard him.
I would get beat tapes and beat CDs from JD, and it was just that was like Christmas when you get, anytime you knew a beat CD was coming from JD, it was like something to look forward to.
Check it out.
Here's the taste of one of my favorite beat tapes. You might even recognize some of these cuts. Dilla's work rate was ridiculous. Here's his old friend DJ House Shoes from Detroit.
His beat tapes were like snowflakes. None of them were the same. Because once he did something, he would master it, and he felt no need to maintain, the same type of work. So he was all about just keeping it moving.
So you had to keep up with him. Plug 2 from De La Soul.
When the one came that you knew was for you, it was like heaven. You just gotta be ours. And and it would be just that. It would be get on the phone and number 17, we need that. Is that one available? And if it wasn't available, it hurt. there was this one beat that we wanted really, really bad, and then all of a sudden, months later, Slum Village had the beat on their album. We was like, oh, man.
That beat would end up on the Slum Village track, Do You.
If you ain't feeling me, just walk away. Is how I'm doing, what more can I say? Yeah. Do you?
I mean, they had a beat that I wanted so bad. It was the same beat tape. Look, it was Do You on there. It was You Want More beat. The day You Want More. I wanted that beat. And I was like, man, we should mess with this beat. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. I was like, L, man, you don't hear that beat? Do you hear this beat right here? This beat right here. You don't hear this beat right here? Man, I just don't know if it's Slum. I was like, okay, man. All right. So we didn't end up doing it. And I was kind of mad after that. I was upset. Like, we should have did that beat.
Dilla went on to produce beat tapes throughout his life that have become like tracks to listen to in their own right. I've been collecting them for years and years and years, and I'm sure there are still more to discover. Some artists have so many beats from Dilla, they're still using them today, like Busta Rhymes.
I first met J Dilla through Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest. This would have had to been around somewhere in 94 or 95. J Dilla became one of my closest friends in music. I don't have too many close friends in music, and J Dilla definitely was one of them. Dilla left me with more music than any producer that I've met to this day. I got over 160 beats of Dilla sitting around. That's why there's never been a solo album of mine that Dilla hasn't been a part of. You can check the back catalog all you want.
Busta Rhymes, the immaculate raw, hardcore, riggedy raw. When I step up in the place, they know I step correct. Got you all in check, and you know we come through to wreck the discotheque. I got you all in check. Turn me up some. Yo, the heat from off the street will burn you up some. Yo, I'm sure the spitter hurt you up some. I'm saying, but you don't know nothing about it. To the future. Brand new. Come on, bro.
Okay, so how did Dilla make those beats? Well, first up, he listened to a huge range of music. But there was much more to it than just that. Illa J.
You know, it's a lot of hard work. You know, a lot of producers today have it easy. They get a drum kit, and it has a bunch of sounds in it. No. So much work into finding this record, digging, finding, ooh, that's a nice kick right there. Or this kick right here, this snare here, this hi-hat here. Some people, they dig and they skim through a song. No. My brother, he listens to the entire record from front to finish. Listen to it all the way to against the end of the record. And then after that, turn it over and listen to it again. And next thing you know, he done found. That's how he finds, like, I wouldn't even have known to pick that.
It's not just knowing your samples, it's how you put them together. Robert Glasper is a jazz pianist who's worked with everyone from Mos Def to Jay-Z. One summer, he and Bilal went to make some tracks with Dilla in his legendary basement.
It was like 3 in the morning, we just came from the club, and he was like, yo, Bilal, can you sing over this? Pulled out one record and played like into a minute of it. It was like, those 3 notes of the bass. Took the record off, put another record out, waited like 30 seconds into that song. It was like, those 3 notes of that bass, put a different, whole nother record out. I was like, and those 3 notes, if I put all those together, could you sing over that?
Here now, as I reminisce.
He was like, hold on, and put them joints together, and that became that reminisce beat. And that joint was so crazy the way he did it, but he was so low key with it and just like, oh, you know, okay, hold on, you know, put it together. And then, you know, to get this other, there's a piano line in there. He had like 1 million records in his basement. He just walked around going, ooh, real low, real soft. For like 5 minutes, me and Bilal were like, what's wrong with him? And then he just randomly just pulled out this one record, pop, and just found this chord and put it on there. Bling, bling, bling. And we're both like, oh my God.
And finally, it's what you do with those drums.
1, 2, 3, 4, get it!
Wajeed remembers sitting in Dilla's basement with T3.
I remember us playing the funky drum for about an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like it would end, one of us would get up and just naturally walk over to the turntable and start it all over again. And I remember that we were discussing the theory of that music and how it was being made, and this whole idea of not quantizing the drum.
Quantizing means making the drum pattern exactly regular. And before that conversation in Dilla's basement, most hip-hop had sounded that way. I'll let Dwella explain.
He wasn't really worried about what everybody else was doing. Dilla did this thing with the clap and with the snap and with the snare where it was sloppy, but it made your head nod that much harder. You know what I'm saying? Like if a regular producer did a beat, it would sound like real straight. Until Dilla came. Dilla created it's a little stutter step to it.
And little did I know that at that moment, via that conversation and a lot of practice, you know, just everything would change. You know what I'm saying? As far as Dilla's role in music, you know, it really set the course for, you know, a revolution in our genre.
The first time Questlove heard this sound, he was outside a Pharcyde concert.
What I heard was this loud drum pattern being played with hand claps. Naturally sounded like Q-Tip's drums because they were crispy and bright. So I stood outside the car and I was listening, and the next thing I knew, I heard a discrepancy inside of the kick drum pattern. It sounded like it was ill-programmed or like a drunk had programmed it. It sounded like it was off rhythm. And so the next day, I was just like, yo, who did that track? And he was like, JD. I was like, huh? They're like, yo, sit down, man, so we can play you some music. Literally changed my whole approach to not even drumming, music.
Nowadays, I think it's fair to say that Dilla's sound has had an influence on loads of producers, including the likes of Pharrell Williams from the Neptunes and Kanye West.
I would hear people talk about certain songs that came out that my brother produced, like when, I would say, Vibrant Thing, when that came out. I remember a particular conversation. Somebody was like, I mean, yeah, like Q-Tip's part, it was okay, but that beat is so dope that it's like, you know, it keeps the song moving. Like, that beat is crazy. And I'll just be like,
So by 99, Dilla was evolving and getting recognition from the public as well as producers. Plus, he was also learning more about the music business itself. DJ House Shoes.
When he was doing some of the early Tribe stuff, when he was working with the Ummah, there were times where he was really not satisfied with that at all. Of course, it's a blessing to be working with Tribe Called Quest in the height of the golden age. But, you know, a lot of that stuff his name wasn't attached to. In music in general, but definitely more so in hip-hop, your name being attached to something can be worth, you know, way more than a check.
It was about that time that JD became involved with a group of artists that had their own approach to making music. They were dubbed the Soulquarians. Here's Questlove.
Well, the Soulquarians were a collective of people that were sort of born in the first quarter of any given year.
D'Angelo, Dilla, James Poyser, and Questlove all had the same star sign, Aquarius.
Except for Erykah. Erykah was born a week later, so she's a Pisces.
We were all friends. We were all young. We were all deliberately creating a movement on purpose.
Common worked alongside them.
It was something to be in awe of and be grateful to be a part of and be around. You know, I mean, you had Jay Dilla, who we all just honored and felt like, man, this is the greatest. They would call him the God, like they call Rocc the God MC. They'd be like, oh, there go the God right there, because everybody was influenced and inspired by him.
At the absolute heart of that movement and everything it was about was Dilla's lazy drum feel.
It was a Soulquarian sound. Like, it was just like the age of Aquarius. It was a soulful, new soul sound. We recorded all these albums inside of Electric Lady Studio, which was the house of Jimi Hendrix, and we felt that it was symbolic that we kind of carry on the mission of what Jimi Hendrix was about.
And Erykah still records at Electric Lady Studios in New York to this very day.
No, there's a frequency, there's a vibration there that I can't explain, really. It just feels good being there. And usually when I'm working on an album, I sleep there as well. I sleep in Jimmy's apartment on the 3rd floor. And we all have shared that space and slept there and been there and just bathed in each other's music.
Touch this elephant dynamite. Yo, touch this elephant dynamite. Yo, touch this elephant dynamite. Check it out.
And then it really just became a 5-year slumber party, of which I'll say that 8 or 9 albums, crucial albums of that period, got recorded at Electric Lady, of which I took advantage of one of them, which was Things Fall Apart.
The roll call of albums made in that studio reads like some of the best music of that time. Commons like Water for Chocolate.
It's the Thelonious super microphones. You know us, this rap shit, we bout to own it. You know it, it's mini me's trying to clone us. I got a bonus for the bitch to run a bonus. I got a bonus for the bitch to run a bonus.
Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun. Bilal's Firstborn Second.
Here now, as I reminisce, will I ever see your face again? Baby, as I think back.
And of course, D'Angelo's Voodoo.
See, I'm like that old bucket of Crisco, the sitting on top of the stove. Simmer, super sizzle like a day.
The Soulquarians may have made some legendary music, but it seems they also had a lot of fun doing it. Questlove remembers one time he went back to the east side of Detroit with Dilla for New Year's Eve. It all got a bit moody as midnight approached.
We're looking at our watches, and, you know, outdoors we hear... People celebrate by blasting out rounds of bullets in the air. And we were like, we gotta get out of here, we gotta get out of here. Dilla's behind the wheel, so we're just like just traveling 70 miles per hour, like going through back streets, like trying to find safety, trying to go to a bar. No, we can't get in, it's closed. What time is it? Oh, it's 11:54. I know a place down the block. Long story short, it's now 11:57. We're now in the suburbs. There's only one open house with an open garage. It's Aretha Franklin's house. That was like one of the most strangest nights ever. And then to top it off, we all went to Dilla's house at the end of the night. We made a track that's one of the hidden tracks on the Roots Come Alive live album, which is called New Year's at JD's, of which is probably the Roots at our silliest.
You know that you don't deserve the contestants, cause all the fifth one is more swerve. Herbs you kick to the curb. Tick, stop, spit, don't cease. Remember, don't think it, think and think, but you think, peace. Three things, ain't on the thing, ain't the triple thing, you and your peeps. You can even run until you break your front, you don't think.
BBC Radio 1Xtra Stories presents Gone Too Soon, a celebration of iconic musical artists who are no longer with us.
I'm Benji B, and this is Gone Too Soon, the story of Jay Dilla. So far, we've explored just a taste of the legacy that one producer has left to the world. Dwelle got his break on a Slum Village track called Tainted. He never expected it to be so popular.
And then all of a sudden, the song blew up and they were talking about shooting a video, and I was like, yo, I never knew it was going to be as much as it was.
It's the kind of music that has the power to move everyone.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm in Detroit, and it's this big guy in this car. I pull into this gas station, I hop out, and the guy's just staring at me. And so I'm like, damn, here we go. You know what I'm saying? This guy's huge. So I finally walk back out, I'm pumping my gas, and he's still looking at me. So he gets out the car, closes the door, and walks over to me like, hey. And I'm like, man, I don't have any sharp objects or anything in my possession. Good Lord. I'm like, yo, what's up? He's like, hey, man, you that dude from the Tainted song, ain't you? Man, I love that song, man. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God.
Think of her, think of me. Think about us since the intimacy. I'm trying to strum you like guitars in this beat. We can sit around and chill, kick the blase split. Plus, you got a man, but he ain't quite me. The type of man that try to get you what you need. And he wanna know where you are, where you be, where you going, where you stay, where you subject to be. Damn.
But what kind of person does it take to produce these kind of beats? Illa J.
James, well, to understand him, you have to just be around my whole family. Everybody in the house is an artist, so you know artists are weird. They go in their little shell and they create, and then they come out and, hey, what up, everybody? You know, he definitely had OCD in certain ways. As far as like, he goes to his house, spotless. You go in the fridge, everything's exactly lined up. Drinks, snacks, pops, everything parallel to each other, everything. And records the same way. He knew where every record was. If I went and listened to one of his records, he would know that I went and listened to his records. I couldn't sneak and do it. He would know. Oh, he was listening to that record right there, wasn't he? Yeah, I know. And he would take it right out and pick out the exact same record in a closet full of records. His music was kind of like that too, in the sense that he was really precise. It was almost like a surgeon.
So Dilla definitely liked his life ordered, which seems to be the key to his music knowledge and his production technique. Dilla worked on an album by Tribe called Beats, Rhymes and Life. When it was nominated for a Grammy, Q-Tip asked him to come to the ceremony in New York. Marjukes.
He had already told me, well, I'm going to go out there because I got to finish some work with Q-Tip during that week, but I'm not going to the Grammys. So actually, he made sure he took nothing to wear. But Q-Tip took it upon himself to get a stylist to bring some things to the house for Dilla to try on. And he called me. He said, Ma, I'm trying on this stuff. I don't want to try it on because I'm not going. But actually, by the end of the day, he put on the outfit or whatever it was that he chose to wear. He rode in the limo to the event, but never got out of the limo. Q-Tip was so angry, and they got into like little back and forth verbally. Dilla called me, and it was almost in tears. He's like, I could tell from his voice he wanted to cry. He was like, I don't care what they say, I'm not going in. I'm not going in there.
There was also a Grammys after party hosted by Prince, but Dilla missed out on meeting one of his heroes.
He adored Prince, but he just didn't like to be around a lot of lights and people.
Dwelle.
He did the stutter thing when he talked. You know what I'm saying? If you talk to anybody that knows about Dilla, and if you ask them to impersonate Dilla, they would have to include that stutter. But he made the stutter cool. You know what I'm saying? I knew people that didn't have a stutter before they met Dilla. And all of a sudden, the stutter was present. Like, oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did that, but he made it cool. You know, that was his thing.
So it really does seem that JD was just true to who he was.
At first I just thought it was like false modesty.
But was he low-key because he didn't have confidence? Questlove.
But as I got to know him, especially once I discovered that Dilla actually knew the power that his music had on people. And it's almost as if he had the 48 Laws of Power booklet, which he really stuck to rule number one. Rule number one in the 48 Laws of Power is that you are never, ever to let the teacher know that you are smarter than the teacher.
He was a very, very special individual one of my, favorite people in the world, J Dilla, like no other.
Common was one of his closest friends, and just like Dilla's music, there seems to be loads of different sides to the man himself.
I would think JD was just this quiet, like, artsy dude, but I mean, he was the first one out of my, group that was rocking the rain, rolling in the Range Rover, rolling in the Escalade, and had his chain at the strip club.
Don't make me soft. Girl, just take it off. Take it off.
Yep, Dilla definitely had a hood side as well. Dwelle.
He's the first dude that I've seen, the only dude actually that I've seen smoke weed in a vocal booth and sing at the same time. And he did that on the Think Twice. The Think Twice song. And that was unbelievable to me. I'd never seen that done before. I mean, in between words.
Maybe we ought to think twice before we start something nice. No need to sacrifice the spice.
So far we've heard that Dilla was pretty chilled. But was that always the case? DJ House Shoes.
Be known, but for the most part, quiet cat. But then when he stepped into the booth behind the microphone, that's when all that aggression that maybe was pent up within him through different situations he was going through in life that he wouldn't speak on, he let all that aggression out.
D.I.B. straight to the back. B.I.T.C.I. just ain't for the stats. I plays with the cake, get a case of the black. One straight to the face and an ace to the jack. We gon' pass that around to my mans in there. Drink up, chink up off for gans in hand.
Dilla got frustrated with the music industry. Sometimes his beats got bootlegged, and even when he was signed to the major label MCA, they stalled on releasing his first solo album entitled Page A. When he got on the mic, his voice was powerful. Here's Wajeed.
I love Dilla as a rapper, you know what I'm saying, particularly on Thelonious. I feel like that's one of his breakthroughs as an MC. You know, to be on the same track with a dude like Common and be competitive and do the last verse, you know what I'm saying, on Common's album, you know, on this particular track, I feel like was kind of a monumental thing.
Spit fire like Esther on Sanford and Son did. A raw dude, more juice, the sun kiss. You want this? When Jay saying the rhyme flawless. Shit fly like MJ in his prime. Off the wall with mines. I'm grabbing my balls when I rhyme. 9-9's bustin' plus ball all the time now. Stay on your mind like great sex. You ain't on my mind, I'm thinking about paychecks.
According to Mos Def, Dilla's skills on the mic were never fully realized.
I don't think he peaked even. I think he was still on his way to higher heights.
After a tour in 2000, Dilla returned home and wasn't feeling so good.
He had been having a few issues health-wise with his hands for some years. And we didn't know exactly what it was. I thought maybe he was beginning to have a little bit of arthritis or something. But then when someone works 24 hours a day with his hands, then you kind of expect certain things to happen.
In fact, Marjukes took him to hospital.
He felt really awful, like he had caught flu or something. And that's when they told him he couldn't go home.
The doctors tested Dilla and found out he had a rare disease called lupus, which affects your defense system by attacking blood cells. He had to start dialysis as soon as possible to boost his immunity.
They said, your platelets are so low, we don't know how you're here.
After that, Dilla had to spend a lot of time in hospital, and he stayed close to home. It was around this time that he self-released Rough Draft, an EP that he produced and emceed on. Mos Def.
We started assisting if he wanted to work with him, he had to come to Detroit. And that he was just gonna do what he wanted to do. Rough Draft is the album that really communicates that to me. It was like, to hell with the machine, to hell with whatever prestige races that they got going on, or those type of, win this tournament, be the king nonsense. He was like, for me, I'm all for those who understand me, and that's good enough for me.
I love all the tunes on that EP, it's a classic. But a track that really does stand out, just because it's so different, is Nothing Like This. Not least because it's JD singing. And for artists like De La Soul, who were loyal, they just worked around him.
Dilla was always the kickstart to our records. So, you know, we would call on him and ask for beats to begin the juices, you know, to get the juices flowing. He was always, you know, yeah, man, I'm sending you guys, you know, the sessions. Here comes the beats, what have you.
So he'd just send the beats instead.
For a grind date, when we heard Verbal Clap, it was like, all right, we're ready to move, you know what I'm saying? We're ready to make it happen.
For a while, Dilla's health had stabilized. But one day, Marjukes got a call.
He called me from his cell phone, but I could barely hear him. And what had happened is he pulled the truck into the garage, was getting out, and his legs just gave way. And he couldn't make it into the house. So he was caught. The truck was still running. He, you know, was just like on the floor of the garage and couldn't move his legs anymore. So that was when we knew that it was a lot more going on.
Dilla's health was getting worse, but Common felt that his best friend needed a change of scene to remain positive.
I just felt in my soul he needed, for his spirit, he needed a change of environment. You know, you want to keep progressing. It's hard when you're in that same place. Even just the people you may surround yourself with, you just need that change. And I was moving to LA, and I was like, JD, you should come out here with me.
In 2004, Dilla moved to LA to live with Common. For his family, it was hard for him to be so far away.
I think that we just sort of took it one day at a time with really big hopes that this thing would go away, you know, that we would overcome it. And that was our hope. And we just learned to deal with it. As long as he could use his hand, he was happy. And as long as he could do his music, he was totally happy. Really didn't care much about anything else. But he had to make that music.
In LA, Dilla started hanging out with Madlib and J-Rocc from the Stones Throw record label. They would perform together often, and a whole new side of Dilla came out, J-Rocc.
Madlib's like a weird performer. Like, he doesn't really get up there and like hyping up the crowd. Jay was, so it was like a little bit a yin and yang. Like,
this is Dilla in action at the Conga Room in October 2004. On stage, he would give it everything, but performing was taking it out of him. Common.
You know, I know he would go out and do shows, him and Madlib. But, you know, some of those times he was in the hospital. Sometimes he was, you know, just, I was waking up in the morning and walk out in the dining room and he'd be making beats. So that was like a dream come true, a blessing.
Not long after that gig, Marjukes got another call.
When he said to me, I need you, I knew that it was imperative to go. He was so independent a person, and he would never have said, come, I need you, and have me separate from the family, unless it was just urgent. You know, it was something that he had no way out of.
Marjukes went to be with her son. Dilla was really ill and was admitted to hospital. In spring of 2005, Illa J went to visit his brother. Although Dilla's hands were very swollen and he was in serious pain, he was still making music. The album would be called Donuts.
Donuts, that's just a special album to me because it's like, I remember going to the hospital seeing my bro, like he's making it. I didn't know what he was making at the time, but just imagine going to someone's hospital, they're laying, like they're suffering, but they're making music, like making an album. Come on, that's genius. On that trip though, that was the last time I saw my bro.
Mos Def.
It has such a clear narrative about the time and space that he was in. It almost feels like a farewell letter to everyone that he loved or cared for.
J-Rocc regularly went to visit Dilla.
I went to the hospital to visit him at least like 2 or 3 times a month whenever I was in town. So I would go see him on his bed, and he was just happy to have company, and I'd be like the only one there, me and his mom, and then his mom would run out, give her a break to go and do whatever she wanted to do at the hospital. But yeah, we didn't discuss his sickness or nothing. We would just discuss music, if anything. I wouldn't say his spirits were always high, but I would say like he accepted it. He just was gonna make the most out of what he was able to do. Like, you know, his last tour, he was in a wheelchair and real sick, and you know, everyone told him that he shouldn't be going on tour, but I think he knew that, you know, like, I gotta do something. Like, I'm not gonna be here forever.
During that tour, Dilla came to London to play at the Jazz Cafe. I had my 1Xtra show that night on a Thursday, and I knew I wouldn't be able to see the gig itself, so I dropped by beforehand to see him in his dressing room. He was there with Mark Dukes in a wheelchair, and to be honest, I got a real shock. I was just sort of upset to see him like that. I wish I'd had more time to acknowledge it, more time to talk it over, and more time to spend with him, but I had to go. Back in hospital, he carried on working on donuts.
There's a real level of honesty in what's being created because he's in this space alone with these sounds and vibrations and frequencies, just arranging them. Fully aware that they're gonna be absorbed and experienced by other people past that point, but in the moment, it's just him and the sound.
He shared his work in progress with those he cared about the most. Questlove.
I was in the Ralph's supermarket listening to Donuts on my iPod, totally just jaw dropped. I texted him like, how in the world did you chop this beat and da-da-da-da-da? And he just laughed like, man, I'm just trying to be great like you. I said, great, like, whatever, man. And he said something so strange. He's like, yo, man, like, yo, come out of the crib, man. You know, I want to give you some stuff, man. I realized that he was planning on leaving. He had given me a very rare Stevie Wonder EP from Brazil. So I want you to have this. And instantly I was like, yo, the eBay value on this is out of this world. No. He says, nah, man. This is for you. Take care of it.
On the morning of February 10th, 2006, 3 days after his 32nd birthday, the man born James Dewitt Yancey, but better known as Jay Dilla, passed away. His mother was by his side. Common.
I was in LA riding home and his mother called me. I was riding to the house and she told me. It was like one of those feelings, you know, you can always remember, I will always remember what I was doing, where I was at, and I felt like, man, it really happened.
And from the moment he died, the tributes started pouring in.
All right, before we get this started, let me explain one thing. This is the Thank You JD podcast. This mix has just been sitting in my collection for a minute. Now let's do this. What y'all been waiting for. Go ahead, girl. Tell them what this is.
Thank you, JD. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
J-Rocc.
The first tribute I did, I was real, like, the day I found out, and, like, I was just real bummed out, and just was like, I'm just gonna make a mix. I just love the dude so much that I want to do anything to keep that name out there. I don't want people to forget who he is. One of my missions in life is to keep that guy's name alive.
He's changed the lives of those close to him.
At times I feel like my brother is watching down and saying, yo, like, you got your own wings. Don't worry, I'm right here watching. You could let go and fly on your own. And that's what I'm doing now.
I feel in everything that I do musically, and I secretly do things musically that I would think would impress him. And it just hit me right now that I can feel his presence right now, as a matter of fact. It's just hitting me right now how incredible of a human being he actually is.
Rest in peace to the late, great J Dilla, Mr. James Yancey.
Hey!
You know what I'm saying? And we will continue to salute and represent and honor this music properly in your name.
And his music keeps coming. In fact, the album The Shining was finished by his friend Kareem Riggins and released 6 months after his death. His memory is also kept alive at tribute nights worldwide. On Dilla's birthday, UK fans queue around the block to remember him.
Dilla's always been influential in my life. Like, he's one of the main reasons that I got into hip-hop. To me, he's the pioneer.
The body moving. J Dilla is best of the best. Blues, jazz, literally everything together.
The crush grooving.
I feel the beats, they've got a particular vibe to them. Like that kind of, you can see it reflected in the people that listen to it as well. And it gives you kind of a good feeling and a warm feeling, and everyone's kind of got that nod going on with their head.
They also raise money for the foundation in his name, supporting others with the illness he died of, lupus. On stage, you'll find Ma Dukes remembering her son.
We're here because of Dilla. We're here to keep his dream alive. One other thing we know, as the musicians just got done telling us, the stakes is high.
Every radio show I do celebrates Dilla in some way. And I really did think I had every Dilla beat there was to have, but I am still finding tracks I'd never heard before. To my mind, Dilla was more than just a producer. He was a musician whose instrument of choice was the MPC drum machine. And his legacy to music is that quietly, he changed the possibilities of what beatmaking could be. He raised the bar for absolutely everyone that was to follow. J Dilla, rest in peace.
Come on, stakes is high. I want everyone to stand up for Dilla when we talking about the love. Come on, y'all. Vibrations, come on, stakes is high.
That was a unique production for BBC Radio 1Xtra, produced by Vivian Perry and Ellie Beatty.
We need your help. We need your love, y'all, tonight. Come on, we get up. Hey, vibrations, come on. I don't hear you. With a little vibrations, come on. The stakes is high. You know them stakes is high.